So the topic today, as Alan said, is God is holy. And as Alan's also said, the word holy, particularly in the Hebrew text in Isaiah, talks about being separate or set apart. But it can also mean exalted or worthy of complete devotion, someone perfect in goodness and righteousness.
I'm giving a testimony, or trying to give a testimony, about how the holiness of God works itself out in my life. And a bit like Alan, I struggled a bit because the thought of holiness makes God feel a little bit remote and untouchable, while I'm in daily contact with a God who's loving, approachable and accessible to me at any time of the day and night, however unworthy I am. So as I was thinking about it, I think for me, God's holiness is perhaps best defined as him being set apart. And I see that most vividly in his creation. So it is a testimony. So I picked out a few times when I've been most aware of his holiness through creation. And the first example is several years ago, I was walking in the mountains up in the Lake District, actually these behind me, and we were going through Windy Gap, which I thought was a valley, but actually it's there. You see, so it's pretty high up. And so we were pretty exhausted. We came through it and we were surrounded by mountains. We were faced by this lake down below us and we could see the sea in the distance. And I was just overwhelmed by the awesomeness of God, our creator. I was up on there was nobody else up there apart from us two, and I was belting out, "Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder." It was just, and then I felt the holiness of God. And similarly, last spring when we were walking, the variety of the wildflowers in the hedgerows was amazing. And they were so many of them, and they were all so different and so delicate, and the colours were so vivid. Again, you know, God's awesome creation reminded me of his holiness. And then by Tesco on the Bowls of all places in the autumn, there was a tree, and every time we walked past it, it was different, and it went through all the colours of autumn, the browns, the oranges, the golds. It was fantastic. And even yesterday I walked past it and it's bare now, but it's still the shape of the tree. It's beautiful. So for me, creation sets God apart and causes me to feel reverence and adoration that I think I should feel for a holy God. And it gives me confidence to walk in faith. If I'm wobbling a bit, if I look at the scenery around me and see the glory of his creation, it reminds me that I can walk confidently in faith. It's hard to doubt his holiness when you see a wonderful sunset or an amazing view. But then how does that affect how I actually behave? We're told to be holy as God is holy. And I can't come close to it, I don't think. But even trying to display a tiny little bit of it. Perhaps it comes down to the fruits and the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Holy there is the operative word, I think. And some examples which I found quite hard because I've got a long way to go on the holiness spectrum, if that really is a phrase. So a few months ago, I had some thoughts when I was praying that I felt I should share with somebody in our church group, and she came back immediately to say it confirmed what she was thinking. So maybe that was a word of knowledge or wisdom. I took cake to someone who's not a particular friend. Is that kindness? I've prayed with a friend, is it gentleness? And I coordinate alpha, and that's definitely patience. So there's been times when we felt we should donate money to charity when perhaps I would have preferred to spend it on myself. And there's times when I've come to church when I prefer to be with my family. Even now, I'd rather be doing the waiting room rather than talking to you because I'm out of my comfort zone. And getting up for the prayer meetings on Mondays and Fridays is not what I would choose to do, especially as Alan quite often brings me breakfast in bed. So, okay, these are things that a nice person might have done anyway, but for me, I don't think I'd have done them without the prompting of the Holy Spirit. So the challenge for me now ongoing in terms of holiness is try to remember to ask and then do what God would want me to do. So when I want to put myself first, I must try to look at life with God's eyes and compassion. My immediate challenge is coping with COVID. There's fear of the disease and there's the restrictions on our lives. I'm trying not to feel so angry at government decisions when they aren't decisions that I want them to make, or frustrated when I feel that my freedom's been taken from me. I need to stop feeling annoyed that things aren't going the way I want them to go. And keep remembering that if I'm to be in any way holy as God is holy, then I need to continually challenge myself. What would he do? What does he want me to do? And then act or think accordingly. So I've still got a long way to go, but maybe I've made a start, and I think that's all I can do really, is to carry on trying to remind myself, what would God do?
So the topic today, as Alan said, is God is holy. And as Alan's also said, the word holy, particularly in the Hebrew text in Isaiah, talks about being separate or set apart. But it can also mean exalted or worthy of complete devotion, someone perfect in goodness and righteousness. When Isaiah wrote, or when this chapter was written about Isaiah, he was a young man. And this was the start of his prophetic ministry. He had a vision of God on his throne in heaven. I don't know about you, but Isaiah's vision also always fills me with awe at the greatness, majesty, and holiness of God. If I think about the most pure and honorable person that I can think of, and times their purity by thousands, I still would not come close to the holiness of God. And my mind can't even grasp that. Isaiah had this vision, and the result of the vision of God's holiness for him was a feeling of complete unworthiness and uncleanness. When we think of the holiness of God in terms of him being perfect and completely righteous, never having ever sinned, we've got to feel as Isaiah did in his presence. The New Living Translation translates what Isaiah said as, "It's all over, I'm doomed." And I have a feeling that if we stood before God as we are, that's exactly how we would feel. So that's the bad news. On our own, we can never come close to being as perfect and holy as God. In fact, we couldn't even stand before him. But God, in his love, touched Isaiah and cleansed him. And the good news is that he can do the same for us. In his vision, Isaiah sees one of the seraphim, an angel whose job it is to surround the throne of God. He sees him take a coal from the holy altar of God and touch it to his lips and declare him clean. What grace! That a man so aware of his sinfulness can be cleansed in the presence of a holy God. Can you put the first reading up, please, Claire? Thank you. So Isaiah 57 verse 15 says, "The high and lofty one who lives in eternity, the Holy One says this, I live in the high and holy place with those whose spirits are contrite and humble. I restore the crushed spirit of the humble and revive the courage of those with repentant hearts." So we shouldn't be able to stand in the presence of God, but we can. God's holiness is so awesome, a man couldn't even stand before it. And if he does, he will die. In Exodus. Can I have the next reading, please, Claire? Exodus 33, 18 to 23. This tells the story of when Moses asked to see God's glory, or if you like, the holiness of God. Then Moses said, "Now show me your glory." And the Lord said, "I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I'll have mercy. I'll have compassion on whom I'll have compassion." But he said, "You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live." That's what Alan was talking about, wasn't it, with the Ark of the Covenant? Nobody can see me, nobody can touch me and live. Then the Lord said, "There's a place near me where you may stand on a rock. When my glory passes by, I'll put you in a cleft in the rock and cover you with my hand until I've passed by. Then I will remove my hand and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen." That's how glorious the glory of God, or how holy the holiness of God is. We can't stand before the holiness of God, but would be consumed by it. But we have a place to hide, not in the cleft in the rock, but behind the blood of Jesus. This allows us to see the glory of God and not be consumed. In the Old Testament times, before Christ came, the people of God had limited times when they could be in his presence. The Holy of Holies was a place only the high priest once a year could go into. But Jesus died so that we could be in his presence always. In fact, if we follow him, we have his presence living in us. We're not condemned because Jesus paid the price. He's the burning coal that's cleansed our lips, or the lamb that was slain in our place to redeem us to himself. The holy God, who has to banish sin because he's perfect, can live in each of us. How amazing is that? Jesus died to pay the penalty for our sin. We're no longer sinners, but the redeemed children of God. Jesus has brought us back. It's only God that we can rely on for our Christian walk and assure us that we are not condemned, as only God could pay that price. Only God is good enough. Praise his name. 1 Peter 1, verses 1 to 2, please, Claire, says, I'm writing to God's chosen people who are living as foreigners in the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, or if you like, Caphili. God the Father knew you and chose you long ago, and his Spirit has made you holy. That's what we can say for ourselves if we've decided to follow Jesus and made him ruler of our lives. His Spirit has made us holy, and that's why the Holy Spirit can live in us. Again, what amazing grace God has given to us. The gift is freely given, and we don't have to. Indeed, we couldn't earn it. But having been given the gift, we do have some responsibility. 1 Peter 1, 13 to 16, thank you, Claire, says that we must be holy because God's holy. In context, it says, so prepare your hearts and minds for action and exercise self-control. Put all your hope in gracious salvation that will come to you when Jesus Christ is revealed to the world. So you must live as God's obedient children. Don't slip back into your old ways of living. Satisfy your own desires. You didn't know any better then. But now you must be holy in everything you do, just as God who chose you is holy. For the scriptures say, you must be holy because I'm holy. That's the verse Anne was referring to. It's a tall order though, isn't it? How can we be holy when we all fail so often? The fact is that God sees us as perfect in Christ, excuse me, whilst at the same time he convicts us of our sin and forgives us when we confess. And this brings us back to the lesson that so many of us took from the Everyday Supernatural series that we've just finished. If we want to know more of God in our lives and we want to hear from him and be doing only the things he wants us to do, there's no alternative to spending time with him and listening to his voice. Our relationship with him has to be cultivated or it won't grow. The more time we spend listening to what he wants us to do and then doing it in his power, the more we'll become like Jesus. In this week's daily reading plan, I read, following Jesus is a countercultural way of life that invites outsiders to belong and transforms us the closer we are to him. Let's be countercultural and look after those that need it in our communities. Let's listen to God and help who he tells us to help this week. And this is the last verse I'm going to leave you with this one, Romans 12, verse 2. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect.
You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us. So Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate Silence the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival, you have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is! Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful